Welcome to the podcast, Chela.
Thank you.
I've been, I think I've been following you on Instagram for almost as long as I've been on it, though I came a little late to the platform. But I really fell in love with your pomegranate necklaces first.
Yeah.
And I would still love one. But I really felt drawn to you. And when I started to watch your exploration into honoring your body and your path into shamanism, which mirrored my own multi passionate journey, I really understood why I was attracted to you. You're such a bright light. And since then, I know you've continued to follow your heart. And before I get too far ahead of myself, I would love to have you introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you currently offer.
Okay. Yeah, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts from University of New Mexico where I learned how to make jewelry in their what they called the small metalsmiths course. Yeah, and so I have had a passion for jewelry and beauty and nature for all my life. And so, yeah, creating my own jewelry was how it started. And enjoying that. And then, how life goes. Like, I worked for another jeweler, learned the process of production, and then kind of found my way into creating my own line and which has evolved so much over the last 34 years that I've been making jewelry. But and through the course of my jewelry and working with gemstones, I really started to tap into the healing properties of the stones, which led me on, I was already on my own healing journey, but the gemstones kind of got me more into my intuitive state, working with the stones, tapping into their energies. And yeah, then my intuition started blossoming from there. And I found my path to shamanic work, reiki, hypnotherapy, and also now channeling song. And I use my intuition in the healing work that I do, the shamanic healing and the Reiki, as well as the intuitive guidance. And so I just do a mix of all of that and it just weaves together. And yeah, I've found that jewelry is no longer a full-time job for me, but it weaves in and out of all of the work that I do. And yeah, I have a nice balance of things, which keeps me from getting burnt out on any one thing.
I love that so much. Myself, I remember just suddenly kind of either noticing the word Reiki or hearing it for the first time, not even knowing what it was and being pulled to that. And then same thing. It was like working with my hands really brought back forth my intuition. And so I felt pulled to go into some different healing crafts. And specifically, I did a 2-year apprenticeship with a shaman and also did massage therapy, specifically Lomi Lomi, because with that, you're working with some of the underlying energies within the body to clear
Mm,
blockages and pain. And just kept exploring from there, but I really never knew how to bring it all together. And I
right.
love that you're doing that. And it does, it weaves so beautifully through your work. And I love also like the custom pieces you've made for other people. When I've seen those, I'm like, yep, I get it. I get what you were going for there. I can feel the energy within that piece and they're so special.
Yeah, they really are. And they're also like, I always start with the intention of the client and what they're wanting to achieve with the jewelry. But then, so the jewelry already emits that energy. But then just through my intention and through the stones that I choose and the design, but then it's also like a touch, like they're touching the piece. They're playing, touching the jewelry and then that becomes a reminder or an anchor for that intention. So yeah, I really like doing those and it's not the only jewelry work that I do. I still do a little bit of production, but yeah. And I always was like in my mind I was always thinking like I needed to coalesce all my things into one offering, And like what was that what would that merging of things look like? But then that may happen at some point, who knows? Oh, I see your doggy.
Yeah, she sleeps underneath the bed in
Hey,
here
little
while I do
buddy.
this.
But yeah, it's for me, it's been more of a journey of like how do I weave, how I bounce, I can bounce between things, but then also e- everything's infused with my energy, which is a merging of all the things that I am and what I do. There's a lot of overlap.
Well,
So
they talk so much about, especially when we're talking about having a slow made business, having something that you put your heart and soul in. And so much of just, quote, marketing is very nuanced. And I think more and more people are looking for that connection with the person first. And having all those different paths that you're interested in and sharing those, I think is really relevant to who you are, sharing yourself and your story, and makes each part of your work that much more important. Whether it's your jewelry and somebody's attracted to that, they're going to look at the whole of you and see what you bring and, just connect with that. And those are your people.
yeah, and I do have several of my clients will buy a piece of jewelry, then do a session with me. So it's all, I think it is about the energy of the person and the connection they feel to you. And I think there's also some kind of soul agreement there too. Yeah, especially with the healing work. I think there's something to the soul agreement. I think you're
So
meant to work together in some form or fashion.
I agree. What then drew you to metalsmithing specifically? Was there like a particular moment when you knew this was part of your path?
When how did you say that? When what was part of my
Like,
path?
what specifically drew you to metalsmithing?
Yeah.
Was it the stones? Was it, working with your hands?
I've always been a creator, whether it's drawing or painting or yeah, I love working with my hands. I love creating things and I love creating beauty. So whether it's like arranging flowers or drawing or whatever, but when I found my way when I decided that I wanted to major in fine arts, there were certain base level classes to take. So photography, painting, drawing, printmaking, jewelry, or like I said, they called it small metalsmiths. And so I took that first class with a friend. It was like a friend was like, "Hey, take this with me this summer." And so I did. And I got to the point where I was dreaming about it and like I was falling in love with it, the process and the learning, like how, and yeah, it just became my thing, became the thing that I wanted to do. And I could envision myself doing. And, um, yeah, it's been, and I've had many breaks where I'm like, I don't want to do it again. I'm done.
Yep.
And I even
I
tell
think we
my
all kinda go through
wholesalers,
that.
I've done it a few times where I tell my wholesalers, like, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I come back, I'm like, "Hey, do you still wanna buy my jewelry?" So it's been really weird, but now I've done that so many times that I no longer, like, make a like, I'm not gonna cut all my cords again,
Yeah.
but I keep it smaller, like, I don't have multiple accounts, I just have a few.
Yeah, I think there's, like, a rhythm with that and
Mhm.
seasons. No, like, after it took me a long time, but after doing it, 20 years, it's like, here comes that season where it's like everything's just frustrating, or I'm just a little overwhelmed and burnout, or I'm really excited and feeling like right now, I really feel that my jewelry reflects me. And so it's just kind of fun to watch those seasons, but at first it's like, "Oh my god," just burn the ship down.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I realized, like, with shamanic work, we work with the seasons a lot, and so with jewelry, the wintertime tends to be a really busy season. But in nature, like, wintertime is when we're supposed to be slowing down and,
Right?
going into hibernation. But so it's like counterintuitive the way we've had to produce in our, because that's our biggest time of year generally in retail. And we just produce, and then go into burnout in the spring, So
Yeah.
when that's supposed to be when I mean, Yeah, usually we get a little break in January, February, but like, yeah, I mean, and it should be more seasonal like that. That we should be going with the seasons a little more than
Yeah,
as humans in general,
exactly. Exactly. So
not just as artisans.
I know we kind of touched on it. Your pieces feel both very ancient and intentional as well, and they feel like they carry a frequency. How do you approach your designing? Do you start with a stone? Do you start with a vision or a feeling?
Yeah, let me feel into that a second. I think it varies. I try to speak to the stones. I try to be like, hold them and tune into what they want. That makes sense.
No, I will always say the stones whisper to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I start to see the vision of a piece when I'm tuning into the stone. And it's almost like it just gets filled in my like a canvas, like I can start to see it. And then based on my skill level and my knowledge of how to create, I have to try to fit that vision into a realistic creation, something that I'm capable of doing.
I understand that completely.
It's like I have to interpret the vision.
Yeah. Has your creative process for the jewelry itself changed as your spiritual path has deepened? Has it gotten easier or flow more or just how you approach your work?
Yeah, I've found more and more that like, okay, wait, how do I want to approach that? Yeah, so it just depends on kind of where I am with things. Like sometimes I do like production and it's just like mindless. I can get into a zone. I can almost be in meditation or an altered state where I'm just like the repetition feels good. But then there's other times where I'm really feeling like abundant and I want to really spend my time with a piece and create something really masterful and special. And so there's like maybe that's it's like a contraction and expansion where sometimes I just need to do repetition and then other times I need that like more creative outlet. And it also depends on like how much time I have, like how spacious my day is or my energy.
Yeah, don't you? Well, as you were talking, I was thinking about how, as people, we all need rest. We all need downtime. Sometimes we need silence before creating. And I feel like that repetition might be part of that. And that allows you to then almost like meditatively work and allow that bigger vision of what you want to make or create come into play eventually. For me, it's a lot of staring. I do a lot of staring at my bench and at all the things
Yeah.
on my bench. And,
Yes.
there was a time that it felt so frustrating. And now I see it as that's that time that I need to rest and I need to just look at things and I need to tune in. And then at some point, maybe it's days later, maybe it's longer. It starts to pop out at me, and then I get an idea, and I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, I love having all my stones just like scattered on my
Mm.
desk and then like two will be like, "Hey, we belong together." And I never like thought of them together before, but they'll just pop out at me. Like you said, they whisper to you. But sometimes I feel like, wow, my desk is such a mess. But that's also kind of what inspires me, creates the ideas. Do you
Yeah.
think also like I wonder, I'm just thinking about this right now, but like I mean, if I do a lot of production, it creates that desire of something different.
Mhm.
Like after at a point where I'm like, I want to spend time on a piece now. And then I'll spend time on a piece and then it creates the desire to like go back to some production. So like when you do something so much,
Mhm.
for a few days, then it's like I want to shift and do something different.
Yeah, I was talking with someone recently on the podcast, and we were talking about balance. And, I did so much production work for a period of time that I loathed it. I did not want to look at another, little wave ring and do this again and again, no matter how easy it could be. Um, and then I went the opposite direction. And I feel like I was most content when there was a balance of both, when you just had that time to produce. And so I've actually gone back into making some offerings with limited edition pieces or just some, simple production pieces that I can still enjoy that process and that spark some of those new ideas as well. So I think that's absolutely a really good observation.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear how you were called to the path of shamanism. Was it a gentle unfolding or did spirit shake things up?
Okay, so I was doing my own healing work with an intuitive channel healer. And through that process, I don't know, one day I don't even know what I was doing, but the word shaman came through like from my inner voice and I just was like, where did that come from? Because I hadn't gotten to the point where I was really clearly receiving messages from the divine or from the universe, whatever you want to call it. I hadn't really tapped into that fully yet. It was more just like my own inner guidance that I had been working with. But that day, the word shaman came to me, and I didn't know that was all that came, just that word. And so I didn't know. It took me a few years to figure out, well, does that mean I need to find one to work with? Does that mean I was one in a past lifetime? Does that mean I'm going to become one? What does this mean? Yeah, it kind of just sat in the background and I thought about it from time to time. And I tried to like do some research online and, what does that even mean? And then I found, well, honestly, I was listening to a podcast and this man was talking about being in an ayahuasca ceremony. And I was like, whoa, that sounds incredible. And I never worked with psychedelics really before. It was like not my thing. But there was something about how he spoke about it and how healing it was for him that made me intrigued. And 2 weeks later, I found myself in a ceremony.
Wow.
It just happened like that. I knew I wanted to do it and it all came together really easily and divinely. And after I experienced that ceremony, I was like, it clicked that that was a shamanic ceremony. And so I found my way to some teachers that are near here, the Power Path. So it's a family of a few people, and they're the teachers of this shamanic program. And I went into a 1 year learning experience with them with 30 other people, and we went to different places around the country, just learning about shamanic practices from different lineages. And so it once I learned even just the basics, I was like, I realize why I'm here because I've always felt my deepest connection with nature. I've never considered myself a religious person. I never followed that, just never felt aligned for me, any of the religions. But when I found the shamanic work and the practices of connecting with the seasons and the directions and how to tap into the wisdom of nature, it just all started to make sense.
Yeah, people can't see me, but I'm sitting here nodding. It's the same, it's so similar. And I think one of the challenges for me, and maybe it's just my nature in general to question everything, but I got really lucky. I studied with Robin Rice, and she considers herself a change maker and modern shaman. And one of the things that I really loved about her was in working with her, of course, she's going to guide us. She really forced us to spend a lot of time journeying for ourselves, tapping into, our own wisdom. And I had some trouble with Reiki too, because initially I'm like, I don't know how I feel about the fact that I have to draw symbols, that I have to do X, Y, and Z, because I feel like it's an available thing we can all tap into. And I loved her because she was like, That's exactly what you need to do. You need to tap into your own wisdom because that's where the strength is. And that kind of leads me into my next thought of, as artists and healers, oftentimes there's this, knowing or this feeling that we know something that we really can't explain. And I know you touched on it a little bit, but how does that role of intuition or spiritual connection play in your creative as well as your life as a healer?
Great question. As in my healing work, it definitely helps because as I've learned how to listen to my own intuitive guidance, I can start to turn that experience into an explanation to guide people to do it themselves. And everyone has their own way of tapping into their intuition, but because I have multiple ways I can kind of guide people, and then through like the shamanic work and helping them tap into that deeper state, I can ask questions that guide people to help me determine what kind of intuition that they have. So maybe they're seeing something, maybe they're hearing something, maybe they're feeling something. So all of those different questions that I can ask help me understand how that person works and help me guide them to their own inner wisdom. As far as the creations go, creating jewelry, yeah, that's a little more like I just do it and I don't always know how I'm doing it. It's just channeled. So I have to really slow down and think about it in order to answer your question.
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
I always say I talk really slow. I think slow.
I do
And
too.
if I try to go any faster, then that's when I start stumbling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easier to describe with the clients because I have to describe it with the clients. But with the jewelry, I don't. I just create. It just comes out. Yeah, I really get into a flow state when I'm making jewelry. So, I just follow the flow. And so go ahead. I think, so some of it is like following the flow, and then other times you're in the actual just doing what needs to be done, but also staying in the heart and staying in the balance between the mental and the heart space. So knowing what you're doing, knowing you have to use the mind a little bit to know what you're doing and to be able to stay on task, but staying in the heart with like even working with the fire and working with the elements and the metal and
I
listening.
understand it. Absolutely understand that. I've been really, summer is it's a wonderful time for me. Uh, it's definitely my happy place. And my jewelry slows. Initially, there's always that conflict of, oh, I've been um, working on business, working on, yeah, all aspects of business. And it's hard to slow down. And then when I get into that kind of slowed state, like right now, ritual is really important to me. Coming to my bench with a certain mindset, coming to the podcast really centered and with the things I love around me, whether it's scents or, uh, like a salt lamp I have going. It's just finding a way that I come back to myself as a person and be really, really present. And in that state, I wish I could stay there all year round. It's something that I really want to intentionally work on this year and not let the hustle of business kind of take over, during that busy season of winter. But I
Yeah.
think it's really important on how you approach your work. I think your best work often comes when you're birthing it from the truest part of yourself.
I love that.
So then you offer one-on-one sessions and hypnotherapy, shamanic work, and Reiki, right?
Yes.
And then what do you hope that people walk away with after these sessions?
Yeah, I'm always wanting to guide my desire is to guide people back to their own inner wisdom and personal power and balance. I find a lot of people it's hard these days to keep in your own power and have the right boundaries. You know, a lot of the people I work with are empathic, so they're absorbing other people's energies,
Mhm.
and they're also healers, and you know, the overgiving thing happens for a lot of people. So having them like be able to determine what their own energy is versus the external, and then really being able to amplify their own gifts and their own intuitive abilities and use their own inner wisdom to navigate their life. And let's see what how else. Yeah, really just having people come back into their own power and wisdom.
Yeah, I love that. So then how did hypnotherapy come to you?
Hypnotherapy. So I was looking to add something else that increased my income rather than just produce jewelry. And the shamanic work and the Reiki are a little more, they're less tangible for people, I think. Hypnotherapy, even though it's still somewhat elusive, it's more known. It's better known. And I thought it might expand my reach to add that to my repertoire, so to speak.
Mhm.
And um so yeah, I got there's a the Hypnotherapy Academy of America is here in Albuquerque, where I live. It's a virtual training, but it doesn't really matter that they're here, but they are. And so I went through that training. And yeah, during the process of the training, I really realized how similar it is to shamanic work in the respect that both use like an altered state of like a trance state to guide people into their own inner wisdom, a subconscious state. And it was really spiritual work. Depending on how you approach it, you can go the medical route, or you can go like my approach is more soul based. So
Mhm.
helping people tap into their inner wisdom and soul to find their affirmations and new guidance for their life, depending on the thing that they're working on, whatever issue they're working on. And yeah, it happened to be something that was really aligned with what I was already doing. So that was really cool to discover just a slightly different angle of what I was already doing. And it gives me a little more skill with certain things. I'm trying to give an example, like somebody dealing with like intense emotions or trauma, or you know, just a difficult past, situations that were really difficult as a child, or things like that, because hypnotherapy can be regressive. So some shamanic work can be too. It's just,
Mhm.
I think it just depends on the client, like um which is more approachable, and the specific issue the client has, and then I'll use one or the other, or sometimes I'll go back and forth between the shamanic work, the Reiki, and the hypnotherapy, because it becomes more multifaceted, so where you're hitting things at different angles, so it can be more holistic.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking, so I live in a pretty conservative area. My husband's a dentist. We have, very medically based friends. So I always kind of considered myself a quieter closet healer. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to go into massage. Is I thought if I could do that and I found the people that really resonated with the work I did and quietly incorporated some of the other things that I had in my tool belt, that it would be something that would help facilitate their own healing. And without, saying, "Hey, I do all this," and everyone looking at me like, I was cross-eyed and hair standing on end. So
Yeah.
it was a way for me to bring forth these things to people who are interested. Because there was times that I would have people say, "Wow, I've never had a session like that." And which was incredibly validating. I'm no longer doing massage just because I have so many problems with my shoulders. So
From jewelry.
it became, well, I think from menopause, from all of it,
Yeah.
just things started falling apart. So yeah, I'd love to be able to do it privately and not work for someone else. But within my state, that's really, really hard to do because they think of like massage parlor and, a sexual sense here. So they really crack down on people who do anything out of their home, which is
Oh,
unfortunate.
right.
Yeah. And then I was also thinking about how this is such an important conversation because, just as a metalsmith and someone who's tried to build, a sustainable income through metalsmithing, there's challenges with that. Business is very, very nuanced. How you approach having that sustainable income can be very nuanced as well. And I often hear people having some shame around the fact that they're not full time jewelers, that they don't feel like they're real artists in because either they're multi passionate and they have many curiosities that lead them, like probably you and myself, or they just want to bring in some other forms of income. And I think that this is a nice blending where you can do those things. You can find something that works for you. It may not be just teaching a metalsmithing class or, I don't know, offer coaching, whatnot. There's all different ways, but making it your own and finding things that really speak to you. It doesn't have to be jewelry related. And it
Yeah.
doesn't make you any less of an artist. In fact, I feel like it all just feeds that.
Absolutely. I've gone through so many iterations of making jewelry full time to having a part-time job to having a full-time job to and making jewelry on the side to I mean, I you name it, I've done it. And I used to have that shame as well. Like, no, yeah, I still have to have a part-time job. I remember like the energy of me saying that. I remember that shame. I remember that disappointment in myself that that was the case. And then making jewelry full time and what it took out of me, the craft shows, the constant production, the staying up late at night, the working 7 days a week, doing it all on my own as a single woman, doing it all, doing the marketing, doing the business, the
Yeah,
office work. Like I couldn't do it. It
it's a
wasn't for
lot.
me. It put me into like high masculine energy where I was just produce, 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 produce. And I didn't have the space to be creative anymore, even. It was just all about producing. I know there's many ways that you could do a full-time jewelry career. And it I know there's many people that do it successfully and still find their balance. But for me, I haven't yet been able to figure that out in a way that I could stay true to myself, keep my health, keep my sanity, and keep my desire for creating. But I think that there's a reason for that from my soul because there are other things that I'm drawn to doing and there are other things that I'm passionate about. So for me, having a mix of things is what's necessary for me in order to keep the desire to make jewelry.
Yeah.
That's the only way for me.
Do you
And
see
now I'm proud of that. Like I am multifaceted. It's all part of my soul purpose. Like it's not just one thing for me. It's the merging of all the things.
So with that then, do you see now the golden thread running through your work as a maker, healer, and guide, or do they still feel somewhat like separate rivers?
I think they all have, yeah, I think there's a golden thread there. And I think it's about beauty, inner wisdom, and heart. Yeah.
What are you learning right now, whether it's in business, healing, or your own growth?
Lately, I've been really focused on the balancing of the masculine and feminine and coming to my own inner union with that, which does really transfer to how I work now. Like I mentioned, when I was like doing jewelry full time, I felt like I was very in my masculine energy and not in too much flow and creativity and which is all feminine. The flow and the creativity and the intuitive parts are more feminine. And so I'm trying to work in a way that is balancing those energies, the masculine and the feminine, the masculine having more of a structure and discipline while the feminine goes is in flow. So that's what I'm really learning about within myself, and how I can have a tendency to just be in the masculine energy of do, produce, produce. And noticing what does it require for me to become more into balance and come more into my feminine energy. And I think every person has a balance of both and in their unique mix. And I think also in this time and in this country specifically, women are forced to be more in masculine roles than
Mm.
so yeah, I've just been working with those energies and trying to find the balance for myself.
So then how do you care for yourself? You're holding space for others deeply. You have to find time to fill your own bucket back up. Do you have any kind of go-tos or rituals that you love to do that take care of yourself and fill you back up?
Yeah, I love taking like ritual baths. So whenever I feel like really like I need to come back to myself, I'll create a nice bath with like rose petals from my garden and a little bit of agua de Florida and salt, and whatever I feel guided to put in there. Sometimes I'll even put tobacco because it's really grounding. It just depends on what I'm feeling like I need. So do a nice plant bath. I love also grounding, being in nature, being near natural water. Also, those are all things. Creating a fire. Yeah, song is really one of my favorite things to bring me back to me.
You've impressed me so much because you are, in my opinion, you are just so brave. You've put yourself out there and you've come and sang intuitive songs and, even some of the photography of yourself, honoring your body. I It's something that I would have so much, I wanna say, difficulty doing. I just know that's who I am, and I know kind of the wounds that keep me from doing that, but I love that you've done that. I'm kinda curious, is there ever a point that you were like, I don't know if I wanna post that?"
Well, I think, yeah, it took, I think when I first started doing it, so just to fill in whoever might be listening, my own healing journey with loving and accepting my body has been a long and tough one. And I'm still working on that. And part of my healing process for a while had been taking pictures of myself, self-portrait, nude self-portraits in nature. And that process was really healing for me. Just the process of taking the photo, looking at the photo. It was shadow work for me. It was like, okay, what's coming up? What feelings are coming up? Is it disgust? Is it shame? Is it and then there might be photos that I'm like, "Oh, that one's beautiful. I like that one." But I'm just gonna throw out all the other ones. If I got one good photo out of like 100 and focused on the good one, it was very healing for me. So I have worked with other women, helping them take photos, taking photos for them in nature, nude photography, and every one of them found that that was a healing process for them too. It's a very edgy, not everybody's willing to do that, right? And there's this fine line between doing it because, so the people that are willing to do it, there's this fine line between like, so what is the reason? Is it healing? Is there an aspect of exhibitionism, I guess? Or is there like, where are you on the spectrum, and working with that, working with the healing, not even healing it, but like just coming into awareness about it. And there's nothing necessarily to fix, but just recognizing where you are with it and the feelings that come up around the process. And so it really creates a lot of opportunity for healing, just looking at whatever comes up through the
Mhm.
process of the photo session. I think, and posting them on social media was a very specific thing too, because I had to create collages in order to camouflage exactly like the detail. And I also didn't want to expose myself that much. So I would create a collage of like a flower myself
Mm,
somewhere, or create like a light beam that covered my nipple, or different
mhm.
things to bring some more, be not as exposed as just finding that fine line of like showing the work without exposing too much of myself and having it be sexual. I wanted it
Yeah.
to be healing, not.
Yeah, and I don't see any of those photos as sexualized in any way, and I want you to know that seeing you do that was very healing for me with my own body image. So, I think not only, offering that opportunity for others to have a photo session like that, but just seeing you and tapping into their, I of course, as I think as an artist, I spend a lot of time in my head. And so when I find something that stirs my soul, I'm going to look at it more deeply and find out where that came from. So it's deeply healing to me. There's another photographer I follow, and he does number of pictures of nude women of all shapes, sizes, ages together. And I look at those photos and I'm like, my God, everybody is so beautiful and so powerful. And,
Mhm.
my body is no different, but it's so easy to listen to the messages in society about perfection and body image and what's desirable and not take that to heart. And then if you've had any kind of sexual trauma, then that opens a whole can of worms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would love for you to share that man's photography with me
I
when you
will,
get a
I
chance.
will. I'll send you
But
that.
yeah, there's many ways it can be done. I mean, it can be done in just really, a modern stark way, or it can be and gentle, or I mean, there's over time, like the human body has been painted, been sculpted, been, so many different ways, been created. I mean, it's created in beauty. It's created. We are pieces. We're part of nature, just like any flower is, and should be appreciated as such. And yet, yeah, our culture has created um, uh, a lot of distortion, I would say, especially for women. But I know men go through it too. But yeah, and I think in our generation, the way women have been portrayed in magazines and media has been very hard to reach. It's and photos, the way photos are photoshopped. Luckily, that's starting to shift, but the perfectionism of women's bodies in magazines and media has created a lot of comparison for women and shame. And that's something that I've been working on for myself, and something that I help people with as well. And it's just time. It's time to heal that. And luckily now I look at magazines, or like online, bathing suit websites, and there's women of all sizes, and women with stretch marks, and women with folds. And I love that. I love that
Mhm.
the girls that are growing up now can see variety like that, and that it's all
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm so happy to see that.
Yeah. There needs to be I still feel like there still needs to be more because,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of things on social media that is very damaging to our children.
Absolutely.
And it's like they have to have something more realistic to relate to. So I'm glad to see the direction change. I love that. I love it. It gives me something to identify to. So,
Yeah,
I know we're coming down on our time, but I'd like to ask a couple more questions if you have time.
absolutely.
So then for somebody who's listening, who's feeling maybe creatively blocked or disconnected from their intuition, what would you suggest for them to put into practice maybe, or I don't even know how I want to say it, to just kind of find their way back.
Yeah. Getting out in nature in whatever form that inspires you as much as you can, like just looking at a tree, listening to birds, looking at flowers. Yeah, getting out in nature and just becoming present to it. Hearing what you hear, seeing what you see, feeling what you feel, the breeze, the temperature, a bug on your skin. Like really coming into presence in nature is my favorite way. But also the other thing I would suggest is to do whatever brings you joy. If it's dancing, if it's, coming from like that inner child place, like what did you like to do when you were a kid? Jumping on a trampoline or going swimming, going down a water slide,
Love
playing
that.
board games, puzzles. Puzzles are really great. I love puzzles.
I do too.
Just, yeah, doing something playful. Finding the play in your life again. And then that, I think playfulness and joy spark new ways of seeing things. And it also opens the heart. And so I think those are ways to, when you're in that playful, open hearted energy, that's when the flow comes in. That's when the messages come in. I feel like for me.
I agree. I think that's why I love summer so much. It's like all I do is just when we go to the lake, if it's sunny, I'm out on my float. I'm looking up at the sky. I'm noticing how big it is. I'm feeling the sun and yeah, the little dragon or damselflies that land on you and is just completely different. My mind just shifts completely. I'm not thinking about work or what I need to do. It's noticing. It's so good.
Receiving. Uh, yeah. And also just like giving yourself the time to rest. Like, not being so hard on yourself. You don't have to produce all the time.
Yeah, I just need to figure out how to do this in the winter.
I
So
know.
what's bringing you joy right now or lighting your, creative fire?
I think I'm in a mode of, like, just being in the garden as much as possible,
Mm.
and that's where I'm creative right now, like, envisioning what I wanna do in my yard and trimming trees, and I don't know. Like, I haven't been making jewelry very much lately, so, like, I'm enjoying being creative in other ways, and I've been going to the pool, and they have a water slide, and I've been loving doing
Oh,
that.
fun.
This is just so yeah, I just need the playtime right now. And yeah, creating this I think I'm in a phase of like taking some space from jewelry at the moment. I don't know how long that will last, but it's been like a few weeks.
I think it's
I
important not to
follow
force
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I am too. Today, I only have 3 days now that I can actually produce anything because on Thursday through Sunday, we're at the lake. And today it's like, "Oh, you know what? I just wanna tend to some other things." And I think that
Mhm.
that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm also kind of at a point where I don't have any stones that are inspiring me at the moment.
Yeah, that's always
So
I have a buttload of stones, but, there's always could be that special one.
yeah. So maybe doing a little stone shopping would be beneficial.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I get
I
into
need
that. I
to
try not to. I keep trying to use everything. I said there needs to be like a site that we can just do like a stone swap, and
I
then
think that would be great.
inspire you.
Uh-huh. But I do. Every time I look through my stone drawer, I'm like, "I forgot I have this. This is
Mhm.
beautiful. What should I do with this?" So yeah, the stones do inspire me when I'm feeling that urge, or even if I'm not feeling the urge. If I see a really cool stone, it'll spark something.
Well, Chayla, thank you so much for taking this time with me today. I
Thank
have
you.
just really looked forward to this. There's so much that I could just spend time talking to you about.
I
So,
know.
where can people find you, connect with you, see what you're doing?
Right. So my Instagram is at Chela Gurnee, CHELAGURNEE. And I have a merging of all of my work and services in life on there. And then, I have the like link that shows my website. And so my website's mainly focused on the healing work that I do, which is ChelaGurnee.com. And then my jewelry is on Etsy, so it's just the store I think is Chela Gurnee.
Yeah, probably .etsy.com or
Yeah, something
I
like
don't even
that.
remember how those go, but I'll have all of that in the show notes and on the podcast website for everyone as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give that Etsy site to you.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much. Thank you for bringing such beauty into the world.
Thank you for bringing your beauty. You inspire me a lot too.
Thank you.